right now on Jamaica News Page tonight. Growing concern across western Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa.
We often see an increase in leptospirosis post flooding events, and we did see in Hurricane Beryl, and about 2 weeks after the passage of Beryl, we saw an increase in leptospirosis.
The Ministry of Health confirming nearly a dozen cases of leptospirosis and now 2 cases of tetanus. The chief medical officer with urgent warnings. New tonight. The ministry scrambling to remove dead animals piling up across the West. Officials warning the carcasses pose a serious contamination threat. Plus, rising public health fears in Catherine Hall. Residents telling opposition leader Mark Golding that 1 man has already died. Also here tonight, a Hurricane Melissa survivor recounts the terrifying moments as the storm made landfall in the West.
I try to fly and come in here. If they go to call in a minute, I dead me dead. So me have to and get up back fast. You can't turn up.
Jamaica News Page tonight is powered by viewers like you. DM us on TikTok at Jamaica News Page to advertise your business on the show. And don't forget to click subscribe and tap the notification bell to stay informed. Thank you for subscribing. Jamaica News Page tonight starts right now. We begin with a developing story. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is tonight confirming 11 cases of leptospirosis following the passage of Hurricane Melissa.
Leptospirosis, we often see an increase in leptospirosis post flooding events, and we did see in Hurricane Beryl, and about 2 weeks after the passage of Beryl, we saw an increase in leptospirosis. Similarly, we are seeing an increase in leptospirosis post Melissa 2 weeks after. So far, we have 11 cases that have been classified as leptospirosis based on the symptoms. So we may have gotten additional notification, but when we look at what the person presented with, only 11 would have been classified as suspected leptospirosis. So these cases are in the parishes of St. James, Hanover, St. Elizabeth, and St. Anne. We also looked at the flooding areas, and when we looked there, Catherine Hall had 2 cases, and we know that's an area that has been flooded.
CMO.
All right. Yes, just want to speak a little bit about the clinical picture of leptospirosis. Most persons are curious at this time. It is caused by exposure to usually urine of infected animals. That's the most common in terms of urine, but also other body fluids of infected animals, including if you have dead animals that have been infected with leptospirosis in waters, then of course that can lead to the bacteria being present in the waters and being able to affect individuals. So usually, it follows history of heavy rainfall, and we saw what happened after Hurricane Beryl in terms of the number of cases. And usually at this time of the year, we would see an increase in the number of leptospirosis cases. But of course, the amount of water that is around now is a lot more, so we expect to see more cases. Usually persons who are in the fields and in water, farmers, etc., would have a high degree of exposure. And, when persons have cuts, bruises, then the organism can enter the body through those areas. And it of course, if it's contaminating the food or the drink, then of course, it can enter the body through that means as well as if you have the dirty hands coming from leptospirosis infected waters, and it is touching any of the mucous membranes, the eyes, inside the nostrils or inside the mouth, then you can become infected with leptospirosis. So for most of the times, it is a mild flu-like illness. 90% of the time, it's a mild flu-like illness, and persons will take paracetamol, that will relieve their discomfort in terms of their pain, their fever, and it will settle. However, 5 to 10% of cases can progress and especially go on to involve the liver and the kidney and result in severe disease. And in some occasions, less than 5% of cases, we can get involvement of the brain, leading to infections of the brain and in the fluids around the brain. It can also involve the lungs, with bleeding in the lungs and with respiratory failure. So in terms of the mild cases, in some instances, persons have no symptoms at all, so they are asymptomatic. But the mild symptoms that you will get include fever, headache, muscle pain, red eyes, stomach pain, and diarrhea. Sounds a lot like dengue, and it sounds a lot like a lot of other illnesses. And so therefore, with the level of exposure that persons would have now to contaminated water, we have to have a high level of suspicion. When are the symptoms severe? If the symptoms are severe, then you will have a worse prognosis, a poorer outcome. And persons will go on to get chills, nausea, vomiting, and yellowing of the eyes is one of the common symptoms that persons look out for when they usually suspect that leptospirosis is probably there. You will see a change in the urine. The urine becomes dark or orange colored, and then the urine becomes significantly less as the infection now starts to affect the kidneys. And then you can have bleeding at various points of the body. You can get coughing up of blood, or you can get passage of blood in the stool. You can also get an inflammation around the heart, and this presents with symptoms such as irregular heartbeat and tiredness, fatigue, etc. Shortness of breath, swollen feet, difficulty in lying flat. These are some of the more severe symptoms that you can get with leptospirosis. And by this time, you definitely should be in the hospital. How is it treated? For the mild symptoms, we treat symptomatically as we treat with most viral illnesses. Although this is not a viral illness, it is a bacterial illness, which is good because it means that we can treat it with antibiotics if we get the patients presenting early. For the severe cases, we would have to use intravenous antibiotics to ensure that the antibiotics are getting to the areas that it is needed very quickly. And so these persons need to be in hospital. If it affects the kidneys and result in kidney failure, then persons may have to go on dialysis. And if it affects the lungs severely, then we may have to aid persons' breathing by using a ventilator. But for the most part, when persons are in hospital, it is supportive care, trying to maintain the fluids by providing IV fluids, giving them blood and blood products if it is necessary. It really is dependent on which organs in the body is affected. But severe cases usually require more comprehensive treatment, and persons are treated in hospital, and some may have to be treated in high dependency and even in intensive care settings.
So the Ministry of Health and Wellness has identified key priorities to focus on preventing communicable disease post-Hurricane Melissa. So we are looking at the availability of safe water, food safety, shelter management, general sanitation, vector control, and of course, risk communication and community engagement. So some of our key public health messages would center around use of safe water. So how do you make water safe? Boiling, if that is possible, chlorinating, or using bottled water for drinking, cooking, brushing teeth, and washing fruits and vegetables. But importantly, we need to make sure that when we make the water safe, we are storing it in clean and covered containers in order to prevent recontamination of that safe water. Food safety. You want to throw away all food that is touched by the floodwater or spoiled due to power outages, because that can result in GE. Hygiene, washing your hands with soap and water, safe water, after using the toilet, before preparing meals, and before eating. in terms of sanitation, keeping fecal waste away from waterways, yards, and in children play areas. For leptospirosis prevention, the key health messages would center around avoiding floodwaters, mud, and stagnant water if possible, wearing protective clothing such as water boots and gloves during the cleanup activities, and keeping food and water protected from rodents.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is working with public health inspectors and the Agriculture Ministry's Veterinary Services Division to remove and bury animal carcasses across western Jamaica. The number of dead animals has increased since the passage of Hurricane Melissa on October 28th. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the carcasses pose risks including foul odors, water contamination, and disease, and is reminding the public that proper disposal is a shared responsibility. New tonight. Opposition leader Mark Golding says residents of Catherine Hall, St. James are deeply worried about public health conditions following Hurricane Melissa.
The occupier of a house told me of a young man who got him out and got her out. Otherwise, she and her husband would probably not have made it. And unfortunately, he passed away 2 days ago. Leptospirosis. So it's a serious thing. Obviously, the public health issues in this community are very serious because of all the mud and everything that's mixed up in that mud. So we brought some hygiene supplies, some soaps of various types, some push brooms, and supply of water and bleach. I think 160 or so people living here at the moment. And, we just brought a truckload of some items for the people who are here. I'm with the MP, Dwayne Vaz, and our councillor candidate for this division, Abigail Malcolm. Yeah, the people are happy to see us. Obviously, the needs are great. What they're asking for right now is mattresses, and towels and so on. Some would love some chicken. They're tired of the tin food. I'm trying to understand. And we just saw the water arrangements here, and we're gonna have a look at some of the other amenities. Very difficult situation. People want building materials. They want to get back their homes, start building back their homes.
Tonight, a Hurricane Melissa survivor recounts the terrifying moments as the storm made landfall in the west.
The glass them out of the church, I fly, I come in here. It's a constical in a minute, I dead me there. So me have to, and get up back fast. You can't turn up straight, When you turn up straight, you see, we are coming with you. I'm going with you. Go jack your over there and go later. So, all right, well, I'm not turn up right now. I have for me to turn up, man. You see, I'm sitting there, I see you no move. And for me, I'm turn up, man. Yeah, don't make us move. No, not make you move. Here, that's a fly. Here, that's a fly. Me have to jump back round me head round or something. It's all right. One more. One more. Look at them people up there. Look at that. Oh God, Mara fell down house stuck. Gone. Oh, he shot down the left. That the house over there. Gone. So far on my God, what will you have gone? You
didn't hear when the roof fall off as well?
Eh?
You didn't hear when the roof fall
This
off?
a roof?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like?
God Almighty, man, it come like I must help for, like a whole roller turn over. I just see, you go here. We are in the story here. So me I said, God Almighty, God, if I come, you come. I come in this way. No, sir, we're not playing that.
And that's the news on Jamaica News Page tonight, powered by viewers like you. DM us on TikTok at Jamaica News Page to advertise your business on the show. And don't forget to click subscribe and tap the notification bell to stay informed. Thank you for watching and subscribing. We'll see you in the comments. And be sure to join us again for more news. Good night.